There are a lot of cars in the world that are very rare. And the price is high, and in this video we will only know 4 types of cars throughout history so far, which must be known. Before we start, we will know who is the inventor of the car and when it was made. Nicholas Joseph Conniot, the inventor of the first automobile. All historians agree that the first car was invented by a man named Nicholas Joseph Cugnot from France, where he worked on inventing the first car that could accommodate 4 people and was powered by steam in 1769. It was a huge 3-wheeled bicycle. It moves for 20 minutes continuously, then stops in order to replenish the steam energy, in order to be able to walk again, and it was traveling about 2.25 miles per hour, or approximately 3.6 kilometers, and there is a replica of Conniot's car at the National Institute of Arts and Professions in Paris. Carl Benz, the inventor of the first practical car. Carl Benz is considered the first inventor of the practical car, as he worked on the manufacture of the first car that uses an internal combustion engine that runs on gasoline, so he got the credit for inventing the car, as he is considered the first person to invent a car that was practical, and it is indicated that there are points of similarity between this car with modern cars used at the present time. It is mentioned that Carl Benz was born in 1844 in a region located in southwestern Germany called Karlsruhe, and he obtained a degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Karlsruhe in 1864. The latest iteration of the boat tail, the next chapter, is in fact one of only 3 that will ever be produced. Each one fundamentally different. It is an entirely hand-built car with body panels fashioned from vast, single sheets of aluminum. It is created and inspired by the racing yachts of the early 20th century. The unique story of this boat tail lies in the connection with the patron's father and his origins in the pearl diving industry. The price of this car is $28 million. It is the most expensive car in 2022 so far. It relies on a 6,750 cubic centimeters Phantom twin-turbocharged V12 12-cylinder engine with 570 horsepower and a maximum torque of 900 Newton per meter at a rate of 1,700 RPM.
The vision of Sir Henry Royce, one of our founding forefathers, was to create the best rolling chassis in the world. The house of Rolls-Royce, the company that we are today, was built on this bedrock of engineering excellence. The bodywork which enveloped these chassis was the preserve of coach builders who worked hand in hand with the commissioning patron. And these motor cars reflected the character of that coach builder and also the personality and wishes of the client. Today, Rolls-Royce continues to imbue its products with meaning. Our motor cars serve as a canvas on which clients reflect their personal tastes, express ambitions, and often define legacies.
Contemporary coach building at Rolls-Royce is the automotive equivalent of haute couture. It is the opportunity to move beyond the usual constraints and bounds and create something truly remarkable.
Our designers had a long-held ambition to create a contemporary expression of the boat tail typology, where coach builders of old would graft the hull forms of sailing boats onto the rolling chassis of a Rolls-Royce.
Boat tail is a particularly special historic body style. It has this unique form that has this tapering rear that really converges on centerline. And there has never been a contemporary interpretation of this particular body style. And that's what we set out to achieve with the modern commission boat tail. These three clients shared a deep appreciation of contemporary nautical design. J-class yachts, regarded as one of the most beautiful boats ever made, became a touchstone of the design.
Well, the clay process, I guess, largely speaking, you're working within the last 10% of the design. You're really working with the minutiae of detail and line refinement and surface control. And actually, it's those two characteristics, probably more so than anything, that you are optimizing. Quality of line, but with it then the quality of surface. The foil, or die knock as it's called in the industry, replicates the real surface of the car, so the painted surface of the car. We judge it very much with light. Lighting in the room is always running in car line with the car, and this gives us a theoretical mapping on the surface to see exactly what the surface is doing.
It opens in a butterfly gesture to reveal the treasure chest of moving parts, an intricate and generous hosting suite. This area becomes a celebratory focal point for shared occasions and is appointed with the perfect accoutrements for a true al fresco Rolls-Royce dining experience. It's luxury in its purest form. This kind of project is not a matter of money. This is one of our most ambitious projects yet. It is where we ignore all preconceived notions of possibility.
Alex, tell us some of your difficult to ignore the finish itself.
Yeah.
Now these wheels are really something special. They are indeed. I mean, they're rose gold in the pocket thread around the car. No more.
I must remember to always have a cigar handy when I want to sell a car. Am I right in thinking that the first owner of this car...
I'd like to present to you rolls-royce boat tail.
origins are unknown. Their methods are extreme. But when our future's at stake, they'll be the world's last hope.
And the game is on.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The Nautilus car from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The car sure looked cool and futuristic for the early 1900s, the time in which this movie is based. The car was designed to gloriously mimic the Nautilus, Captain Nemo's Sword of the Ocean, and even carries the same design elements, including religious elements based on Hinduism and other classic art elements. The car sure looked cool and futuristic for the early 1900s, the time in which this movie is based. It sure can't be compared to the likes of supercars of that era, but can be tagged along with the weird bunch of concept cars after its era that look too weird for the real world. This car was designed by Carroll Spire from scratch. It used the chassis and engine from a Land Rover Fire Tender, but that is all skin deep, as this behemoth of a machine was a depiction of what the future looked like back in the 1900s. There were actually two of these made for the movie, but only one was fully functional. But driving this was no easy task and is not road legal as well. It made it to with a length of 22 feet and had 6 wheels. It had 2 working axles up front, just like the Tyrrell's 6-wheeled F1 car, but surely not as fast. It used a V8 alright, but wasn't the go-getter with insane performance potential. The Nautilus car was built to just look good on the big screen, and that it did impressively. An additional steel frame was added up front to house the engine under that extremely long hood. It's obvious a car of this size weighs in insanely, and so the custom team went forth with a fiberglass body to save weight. The most distinctive aspect of the Nautilus car was its inspiration from Indian art and murals. The front fascia was garlanded with portraits of Ganesh. The artistic touch was given ample importance, because of which they even dislocated the headlamps. Yes, those creepy eye-like things protruding to the sides, and inside are its headlamps. Driving about a car which was over 22 feet long, was a convertible, and had an odd 6-wheeled layout, each measuring 28 inches in diameter, was the least practical bundle ever. There was also a replica of the Nautilus car built by Ken Freeman from North Carolina based on 2 Cadillac limos that sold for more than the original.
I think that the hardest challenge we always face is, particularly in practical work and miniature work, is that gravity and inertia, fire, smoke, and water are real. And we're always trying to bend those rules as much as we can by making models go faster than they really physically should be able to go, because we're countering, high-speed camera frame rates and that sort of thing. But for the most part, I think the biggest challenge is just getting everybody to be on one page from the film side of it, from the studio side, saying, okay, this is what we want for the show, this is how we want to do it. I think every show has its own series of challenges that are completely different from the last show. I'll say one thing, the only thing that always comes to mind, just because it's a great story, was back on the film League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. The mechanical effects supervisor for that, Scott Beverly, terrific, talented guy, we had a shot where a car had to be launched off. It's supposed to be racing down a Venice street, hit a bridge, and then jump through the air, land on its nose, and flip through a doorway of this sort of old theater building. And what's funny is everybody looks at it and think, oh, that was like shot as an element or whatever. It was completely in camera. And that shot, it was about a 45, maybe almost 50-foot launch. We had a big pneumatic slingshot that was set below this bridge. All the background buildings are in camera. And the vehicle, which is about a 5th scale car, about 5.5 feet long, was launched on this. And this thing, and Scott had calculated, we had a number of tests, we had a catch net, so we would go through this. But that shot of the car going through, it's in a couple pieces because we had to get it from the shot, and then we had to do the reverses. But the action of that shot is 100% happening the way it was to happen in the movie. So when that car launches, it launches like, I swear it had to have been 45, 50 feet, noses down, then bounces through a doorway that had 2 inches of clearance all the way around. It's not rigged, it's not on a puppet arm, it's completely in the shot. I have making of a video that nobody believes, but that to me is probably one of the most challenging because we had very limited time to get the shot. And so in terms of trying to deal with physics and reality, that would probably be one of the most challenging. I haven't done any actual fabrication in a long time. Every now and then, on every job, we would always try to do something. Both Ian and I would try to find some one thing we could make. Because the thing is, as a supervisor, you just can't be at a desk making a model. There's like a billion other things going on at the time. But we'd always try to find one thing that doesn't hinder the process, meaning that if it doesn't get finished by the end of the show, you put it in the background, it doesn't matter. Creatively, I just don't do that work anymore, unfortunately. But fortunately, I still do my own storyboarding, I still do my own concept art, and I'm still hands-on in the sense that I work with the model makers and the creatives, whether it's building computer models or doing composites, or even just out in the shop with guys sculpting, and I sort of guide them in where I think the project needs to go, or the specific thing that they're doing needs to go. So in some ways, while they're not necessarily my hands, I really, really enjoy the creative process, and I don't feel that I'm missing anything by not doing the work. I think that working with so many creative people that we do, that satisfies that creative, desire, because there's so many people here that are amazingly talented.